and people break it. That stuff breaks, and then it doesn't look that good. It looks really poor. It's not fun to maintain. So above the deck, we're not proposing to do any bird protection whatsoever, mostly because it's washed pretty well by the rain. Below deck, that's protected, and so droppings that are deposited there stay there a long time, and that has caused problems. So wherever there's a horizontal surface on the underside, we're proposing to use stainless steel bird spikes. I'm sure most people have seen those before. However, we're going to keep them up. They'll be the top of the piers where the end of the truss sits on the concrete supports. We'll have those bird spikes located there. There are beams that go from one side of the truss to the other side that support the roadway, so the bottom flange of those will receive it, and then all the cross bracing that's underneath there, all those surfaces will receive that stainless steel bird, those stainless steel bird spikes, and they're really up there high enough that I think the visual impact is going to be a lot less acute than putting them up on top for it. There will be a little bit of netting around the bearings at the ends of the trusses, but those will kind of be hidden away up underneath the bridge, so those will be hard to see. But bird spikes, stainless steel bird spikes, that's our primary deterrent that we want to use because it's nice and durable and easy to maintain. All right, any other questions?
At one time we talked with, and I know that you and Bill Gilly have probably discussed this, but your Christmas tree or your Christmas Santa Claus you put up there, is there going to be provisions made that they can just set it up there?
Yes, we went and inspected the brackets, and really there's a cross member on the top of the truss near the middle of the bridge that most of those brackets are mounted to. Yeah. They're bolted through with 2 stainless steel bolts. It looks pretty sturdy. So we're just gonna sandblast it, leave them in place. They'll get painted up with everything else, and it shouldn't be any issue. And we've been coordinating with the fire department volunteer group to make sure that works for them. One thing that we are proposing to do is, with the new lighting, we're going to need to pull new light circuits onto the bridge, and there's a space to add another breaker. And one thing we want to do is run an electrical conduit up the inside of one of these verticals and provide a weatherproof plug-in housing at the top of the truss. Because right now,
the pole is gone.
Previously there was a pole right there that had the power drop, and that pole's gone. So we're gonna provide a vertical rise that's hidden inside one of these vertical members. So it'll be there permanently. Shouldn't be
nice.
a long-term issue.
You were talking about maintenance after it's been deeded to us, or however that process goes. What kind of maintenance are we talking about?
Very little. The whole goal here is to provide something that for at least the next 20 years is as close to zero maintenance as you can get. Most likely after that first 20 years, the only thing that should be necessary, other than repairing any vandalism, would be touching up the paint on the truss. If there's any weak spots that develop in that first 20 years. The system we want to use is described as a 30-year paint system. What's out there now is some of its original paint, and is actually not in that bad a shape. The mill scale on the steel is tough. It is tough stuff, and that's really what's kept the steel from corroding. For the most part, is the mill scale on the steel. But very little. The answer is very little.
The bridge actually is inspected through the state, not yearly, but every 2 years.
Every 2 years, yeah.
For structural integrity. So what the state does every 2 years is they'll send us an evaluation of the bridge, and some of the little maintenance items. That's what we're instructed to do, and they have a rating system on them. If it's critical, it's something that we need to address immediately or so close to. A lot of it will be bearings or similar things like that. So there is some maintenance that the county will end up having to do. But as Brian said, it should be minimal for the next 20 years.
There was a article in I think the paper about people putting padlocks on there. They're in love and what have you.
There are a few out there,
yeah. Are we suggesting to cut those so they don't wear through the paint as they flip around in the wind?
Oh yeah, they'll
I mean, but after the repair,
I wasn't aware they did this. They put them on because they love the bridge, or?
Can you,
That's what the article said, I didn't write it.
Unless folks come in and take their locks off, the painter will have to cut those locks off.
but I'm asking maintenance-wise after the project completed.
I would suspect yes, you would.
Just
want
keep
to,
cutting them off.
because you're absolutely correct, is that wear and tear will cause failure on the paint where it's buckled onto.
You can blame me, I don't care.
I don't think it has anything to do with loving the bridge. I think
No,
it
it's
had,
loving each other.
right, it's a relationship type
But they need
thing.
to jump off rather than put.
Oh, I think they're very endearing. I like them.
Well, but as they rotate in the wind, they're eating to the paint.
We can give you a pole that you can put your locks on if you like.
They might have been there for like 30 years now, and I just saw them, and you wouldn't have known if I hadn't have seen them.
I've seen them.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
Okay.
let me confirm the scope of work, the final scope of work that we're proposing, because we had a few things that we were evaluating whether they needed to be done or not. Unless,
I may enter into that. I've had a question with Leslie Lewis in the legal counsel from Yamhill County. I've always wondered, you know, if the building that's down there next to the bridge, if anything happened to that tree, hit it, you know, a log hit it or whatever, and went down.
We're prepared to discuss that right now.
Okay,
Okay.
because I was just wondering how that
Correct.
indemnity and who's responsible and how do we
Yeah, I think
protect
we're not
ourselves.
prepared.
Okay.
so that never happens. So the scope, so this is, we'll do a quick rundown of what's going to happen overall to the bridge. And most of this is confirmation about what we talked about in October. So the steel truss will be fully housed and enclosed. We'll provide a negative air pressure system with a HEPA filter so we can contain any dust that's created as the paint is removed and the new coating is applied. So it's going to look like a brand new truss with a brand new coating. Color will match what's there, although it's going to be a little darker green because what's there is actually faded over years. So it'll be a true ODOT green when it's done.
Is that going to match the stuff that's on the far side, you know, on the west main, that green?
I
It's
think
pretty close.
on Main Street, it's kind of a darker green.
It's a darker ODOT green.
Right.
Yeah.
The ODOT green is a little lighter than what's on those rails. But, you know, we haven't closed the consultation with SHPO. So if that's something that,
You can
final
just work
color
with that.
selection, we can still take a look at that.
Isn't there only like 4 shades of green?
There's actually 2 official shades of green. Yeah.
It's not.
Yep. But we could double check.
You can have your Model T as long as it's black, any color.
Yes.
One of the questions that the chamber and the fire department had is, in the wintertime, are you going to be working on top? And in the summertime down below because of fluctuating levels of the river?
Here's what.
The reason I'm asking you is Santa Claus goes up on top in the wintertime.
Right.
So if you're up there, you know, if we can't do it, we can't do it.
Well, it depends on what time of year we can go to construction. And it really does depend on what time of year we start the construction. This will be a weather-controlled housing, so the paint removal and the fresh painting, it won't be weather-dependent. So we do any time of the year. We have 2 windows for bidding. The first one is this summer to get work in as quickly as we can. If we're not able to get work, get this bid this summer and start on a fast start scope of work, then it's most likely to bid in September. Contractor would then probably go to work in about the November timeframe. So that's
What I'm asking you though is you're going to need scaffolding hanging down from the bottom, and the river comes up quick.
Yep. There will be a lightweight platform that's suspended from the truss, and the contractor will have the ability to raise that, tied up against the floor beams before any weather events come, and then they lower it back down again to get some headroom to work. That's going to be the most expedient way.